This is Discover Crypto, Blockchain Basement, BitLab Academy Consortium. Welcome to the show, one and all. It is Friday. We're feeling fantastic. And I got my man, Kelly Keller, on the show today with me. Kelly, I heard you got a lot of real bullish indicators. Could hear you screaming from your office like someone was showing you the light earlier this morning. I'm excited to look at what you've been looking at. But first of all, how are you doing, my good sir?
Dude, it is peak exhaustion in this space. I mean, throw a one in chat if you're tired of the back and forth, bullish discourse, bullish signals, but then an absolute bearish teardown of a tweet from Trump, but then bullishness, and then you get tariffs, but then you get that. You know what? I think that's kind of there's some signs and signals out there that are suggesting this may be coming to an end here in the very near future, but we're going to look at that data. But I'm feeling good. I'm starting to feel loose. I was feeling frustrated myself, but I'm feeling good. My spirit's feeling good. I'm feeling grateful. But yeah, what about you?
I mean, it's been a day of, obviously we had the big news come out. We're titled around it. The CPI data came in, and honestly, like it came in slightly under expectations. It's actually looking not that bad. I may as well pull this up while we're talking about it, because it does play into the Federal Reserve's decision on what they're able to do over the course of this next year, the end of the year. All those rate cuts we're looking forward to. The inflation rate hit 3% in September, lower than expectations on this long-awaited CPI report. We have honestly, those comments from Trump yesterday that he's looking out for a trade deal to be finalized. And it actually looks like he's going to be meeting with the president of China to finalize the deal, which is super exciting. It would be nice to see some cooler heads prevail and the markets kind of get some clarity on where things are going. There's a whole lot of uncertainty right now in the markets. And I think that's holding us back from this awesome move in altcoins, especially. Bitcoin, I think, has more room to run. It just needs this signal that it's not all over. It's so not over. And really, we've been banking on it not being over for quite some time. But this gives the Federal Reserve a little bit of extra wiggle room in cutting those interest rates. But the crazy part about this, Kelly, is that they actually are continuing to disinclude products that are going up into the right in terms of their price. And one good example.
You mean they're shaping the data? I'm getting double audio right now. That's crazy.
Oh, are you? Let's see here. Maybe it might be my computer. So coffee jumped to a new all-time high. They took coffee out when it was on its way up here. During this process of rising prices, they also changed the definition of a recession. So now coffee's back to, pretty high levels. I wonder where that, I'm going to pull my screen down and then turn the audio off. That's probably what did it. I'll bet you that's what did it. I'm going to keep the audio off because sometimes this thing loses its mind, but I just want to see some clarity. I want to see, these altcoins, they have been beat down. It almost feels like worse than they ever have been. Even in the bear market of 22, 23, the sentiment was not this low. And we're sitting here in a situation many people chose to go after altcoins for that better upside potential over the course of the last 2 years. And we're sitting here watching those things basically flatline as Bitcoin skyrockets to the moon. And I think that's compounding some of the feelings of aggravation, frustration. And I want to talk about it today on what the metrics that you see are, but also maybe some of the projects that our crowd is holding and some projects that I hold that maybe have been underperforming, to see if there's any really kind of underscope bullishness to be looking out for.
Well, okay, double. Okay, audio's good. Well, let's go to the chart, because sometimes we lean into our bias, but we can also see in the charts right here. This is from Gordon, Altcoin Gordon. Mm-hmm. Altcoins are the most oversold they've ever been right now when you're weighing them against Ethereum, which in a lot of ways you could say the crypto market follows the direction of risk, of the confidence of there for Bitcoin or not, right? Mm-hmm. And the altcoins are going to, for the most part, follow the lead of what's going on with Ethereum. And when you see this metric here, the RSI, more sold than it's ever been for all these altcoins everybody's wondering about. That's why we're still waiting. Where does that other chart go? We're still waiting not only on ETH to make this move up higher, but also this chart right here that we have been highlighting time and time again. It's somewhere right here. Got 42 different windows up here, but yeah, this framework that we've been talking about that is very similar to what we're seeing in this shape right in here. So when we look at this and we realize that that's exactly what I was looking for before. This PUMP launch, PUMP. What does that spell? Pump. Are we going to get it? I don't think we are going to get to this extent with this extreme vertical, but I do think we're still going to see a pretty nice bullish price action pushing up, whether it's from 240 to 1 trillion, somewhere, 1.5, maybe 2 trillion. I don't think it's going to go this vertical though. But again, all signs, all signals are waiting on what's going on with ETH. And if this Wyckoff accumulation actually plays out. And remember, we've had this drawn for several weeks into a month or two. And it's interesting that this is coming in and starting to show potential reversal signs right as we may be entering this, subjective phase E, which would be that blast off stage in the market. So again, I think it's patience. The market is showing, as we just highlighted, the most oversold in history, while we're also all aware that, we got those peak fear signals in sentiment in the market. I don't sell things when there's peak oversold and peak fear. That, for me, while being frustrating, tends to be a pretty good indication that you need to either sit on your hands or look for some opportunities to deploy.
Right. I mean, this fear and greed chart overlaid with the price is basically decoupled. It's been pretty awe-inspiring to see historically when the price started to dip really strongly, like this 75K washout. Understandably so, you go down into extreme fear and greed below the 25 mark or 20 mark here. We're currently at a 32. Yesterday, it was like a 20 or something like that. And now this is a great highlight to this. MFers are out here shilling bonds, nickels, and beyond meat stocks. This does feel like a bottom. It does feel like a bottom, which is weird for me to say because Bitcoin's over 100K. But it's been definitely something that's been on my mind. We got a super chat. Are these euros? Get some rum and cinnamon biscuits, chaps. All the best from England. Hey, shout out to you, man. Shout out to you. It just does feel like the sentiment is so low. This has got to be the bottom. So many beatdowns out there, but you know what? I had a huge moment of inspiration earlier last night. Bernie Sanders put out comments saying that President Donald Trump did a better job securing the border than Biden did. Then saying, if you don't have any borders, you don't have a nation. Dare we be looking at the Bernie Sanders revenge campaign?
Well, wait a minute. Everybody is worried about the flippening of Bitcoin and ETH. Is this the flippening? Bernie finally realizing, hey, we're kind of speaking some nonsense.
I mean, maybe it's been a chaotic theory that I've had for a long time. Eventually, he'd get so mad from being rugged by the Democrats that he would, swap on over to the Republicans. Interesting thought. But just a quick highlight on that. And also, while we're at it, we had pretty good price action this morning, even with this. President Trump terminating all trade negotiations with Canada. And the insane part about this is that the market literally doesn't care at all about the trade negotiations between major countries, major economies that are literally neighbors. So Trump terminates the trade negotiations with Canada, and Bitcoin didn't even budge. I mean, look at the chart here. The news came out, and we are basically, God, and look at the buy box on this. This buy box we analyzed yesterday has been very, very powerful. I got stopped out of a Morpho trade, but I bit this buy box for a Bitcoin trade, and it is very, very strong. I wish I would have just gone after the dang Bitcoin trade anyways. It's like I'm being punished for the hope and idea of alt season, but Bitcoin dominance is just not giving up, dude.
Well, not only that, looking at this right here, the market opened today. The market opened at an all-time high. It opened, the S&P 500 opened at an all-time high with a gap. And it's not the first time it's done that. If you zoom back over the last, coming back, when is this? All the way back to April of this year.
Yeah.
Before that, actually, yeah, April. So we opened with a gap there, never came down and refilled it. We did have a gap here, came down, refilled it. Opened another gap there, opened with another small gap there, opened with another gap there. And it's interesting on this, people are shaking off everything going on with the tariffs, with the government shutdown, with everything. The market is just pressing higher. And this bodes well for Bitcoin, because if you're expecting similar on Ethereum, how we had that Wyckoff reaccumulation before liftoff, you also have the same thing present in Bitcoin as well. So is that going to happen with S&P 500 going up when you also have strong correlations that have followed very tightly? If this were to follow that correlation, this means Bitcoin's mispriced by about $50,000 right now, should be up here at about $156,000 if you're kind of following this correlation. And it's not just S&P 500. It's not just the excitement of us wanting the market to go higher. We've all been seeing the global liquidity, the M2 rising extraordinarily, gold rising extraordinarily. Both tend to precede major runs on Bitcoin, which we all know we've only had healthy stair steps up. The question is going to be, do we get that parabolic push up in the Bitcoin and altcoin space, or is it too controlled now with institutions being involved?
Well, you know who is getting a parabolic push? Sean Diddy Combs is now been attacked behind bars in a near fatal attack. I reposted this. This does feel like an indicator that the bull market's coming back. Being reminded that, and you know what? I wonder if it was Sam Bankman. It was maybe Sam Bankman was like, I'm gonna tear you up, bud. You know what I mean? The bull market's back. CZ got pardoned. I'm gonna catch a pardon soon. Let's go. I really think that seeing the pardon of CZ yesterday and the misconceptions of what went on, Elizabeth Warren, she got fact checked, came out, said that he was doing the money laundering himself, is that they didn't have anti-money laundering practices in place on this exchange. And some of the people on the exchange followed through with that. So he was held culpable for it, right? But this is, I'm seeing some other hopium, Kelly. Like, this was a really cool graph here. ETH ETFs outperformed Bitcoin ETFs in total inflows during quarter three. And so we've seen that one impulse to the upside so far for ETH in the kind of bluish coloration there. And this is quarter three of 2025. Bitcoin has largely dominated this, but seeing this impulse gives me hope that we might be around the corner from a similar impulse that would push Bitcoin dominance even further down the line and cause fun for altcoins. It is something that I hold Bitcoin, but I also am heavily overexposed to Chainlink. And I'm excited to see if this thing runs. There's so many signals that Chainlink was the right alt choice. We had this Tom Sajak. I'm terrible at saying his last name, but he's the chief technical officer at Swift. He's out here liking bull posts about how Chainlink is the missing link for Swift's integration to blockchain technology. And he's also trolling other blockchains. I have a video coming out this weekend talking exactly which blockchain Swift is trolling right now. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But it seems that their mind has been made up on which project they're going to start this process with. It looks like Chainlink, the CCIP, but also they're still doing test transactions and further verifications that they are testing with Linea, this random altcoin that has a terrible price graph. Makes me want to buy a little bit of it. But that's just me. You know what I mean?
That kind of brings to the forefront what we've seen in the last, since January of this year with the new administration, Paul Atkins, what's happening with Trump, the both Republican and Democrat stance on really moving forward with positive legislation, or at least nowhere near as restrictive legislation as they had previously, or lack of legislation. And so you got Sergey Nazarov in there talking with DC lawmakers, Congress, Senate, and with that being said, then we also have that ballroom that's being created right now. And who's some of the biggest donors, or some of the people on that donor list? None other than Gemini, Ripple, and Coinbase. It'll be interesting if people go to that ballroom state dinner and you have like a Coinbase sponsored banner on the side, and but the point here is, while this might not feel fun and sexy for the price action that you're looking at right now, this is a great demarcator of how entrenched and how active the crypto, blockchain, Bitcoin, digital asset ecosystem is working in concert with, lobbying efforts in DC, with different politicians, which does, I don't want to say curry favor, at least gets them on the same page to talk about things, versus having people that are in Congress that think if you put too many people on an island, it might tip over, have them making the decisions, which, yes, there are people like that, like the congressman here from Georgia.
Yeah. And there's a whole list. A lot of crypto focused companies actually made it on the list of these donors. You had Tether America, notably in terms of crypto, obviously Coinbase, as Kelly just mentioned. You have Lockheed Martin. They're super excited about Gaza Plaza East. And then we have Ripple right under Palantir Technologies. Palantir is probably going to roll out the T100 Terminator edition in about 5 years. So stay tuned for that. We'll see if Terminator accepts Bitcoin to get off my lawn. And Tyler Winklevoss, obviously behind Gemini.
You know what I just realized about this? This is actually hilarious. I hope somebody clips this and puts this out there. Although I don't want to be necessarily too political. You see so much pushback on the left right now about this, this adjustment, this change, this improvement to the White House grounds, adding this ballroom, forgetting that Barack Obama also did a $367 million renovation in the White House when he was in office. But the interesting thing here is very left-leaning organizations like Google, like Amazon, like some of the other ones that are here are some of the donors for this same venue that's getting built out, that is not being billed to the taxpayers like many of the previous renovations have been.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of companies that aren't, connected to crypto, but the Lutnick family, obviously Howard Lutnick, 21 Capital, Sovereign Wealth Fund oversight for the United States, lots of Bitcoin interest. He hammer buys Bitcoin every time he can. And Ripple, in the situation with their donors, their donor movement for Trump, Ripple was kind of in the doghouse with Trump over that tweet. Remember that? The fallout from the advisor that gave Trump the tweet that included XRP being
just slipped it in there.
Right. Yeah. Just slipped it in there. Hey, say XRP is going to be part of the strategic reserve. There you go. Trump, his team tweets it out. And then they find out that the guy definitely had a conflict of interest that gave him those instructions to tweet about it. It caused a lot of the pump for Ripple, but Ripple didn't give up a large majority of that pump, right? I mean, XRP is pumped from 50 cents some odd, whereas ranging up to above $2 for quite some time. It's a cult. They're holding on for dear life to hold above that $2 zone. But we are beholden, unfortunately, for the time being, to Bitcoin's price.
I believe it was 20 million. I could be wrong, but yeah, they to the Harris campaign.
Oh yeah. And Ripple also tried to take out Bitcoin because they were saying that it was a environmental systemic risk, right? Funding Greenpeace with millions of dollars, if not billions, to FUD the literal ground of which crypto walks upon. Hard to ever forgive them for that, but
I do want to say, though, we've been hating on Ripple a bit lately. I do want to just also remind people a little bit of good news in the Ripple's behalf. This right here, Ripple officially launched Ripple Prime after completing its acquisition of Hidden Road. Excuse me. It's the first crypto company to own and operate a global multi-asset prime brokerage. So this is a great step forward in terms of entrenching themselves. Since let's be honest, they kind of lost many of the things that the community, at least, were sort of harnessing the narrative around XRP on. So it's nice to see that Ripple is still actively moving forward. I really want everybody that holds Ripple, because it's a lot of retail. I want everybody to make money. Whether I like it or not, keep pushing forward.
And it's like people act like me and you can move $150 billion market with a negative headline on our YouTube channel. You're wrong, first of all. And there are thousands of creators that will just remain giga bullish on XRP regardless. Me and Kelly's job here is to bring you facts, data, historical context, and likely movements forward so that we can make the best decision possible together. So I'd have nothing wrong with people that hold XRP. They're trying to change their life with a crypto asset. And I think that's cool. That's daring. And even the Hexicans, right? I want the Hexicans to do well. though I deport them, I want them to do well in their own lands, maybe the best. You know, and this is DeFi crypto and airdrops. He was deep in Ripple or XRP rather, and me and him are very, very on the same page. Where it's like Ripple, the tech, and as a company, probably going to do pretty good. Yeah, $140, you can swap over to whatever kind of narrative you want to. But DeFi, they're missing out. You covered it earlier in that article write up, but it is worth mentioning here. For a 185 or 150 billion dollar project, you'd hope to have more than $85 million in TVL on XRPL. So there are things to be called into question there. But again, I hold some XRP, right? I hold some XRP. It was the third crypto that I ever bought. And I was dumping tons of it at 70, 75 cents to go swap into Avalanche at $10 and all that crap. But I forgot to sell one small bag with a couple hundred tokens, maybe 1,000 tokens. I'm just going to let it cook. They're 17 cents a piece. And I'm fine with it, right? I'm fine with it. In terms of where the market's at, things aren't looking so horrible right now as we're heading into the weekend. I do want to check out your on-chain analytics, but right now, Bitcoin sitting here hovering around at $110,000, 110.5. But what are you seeing on the kind of on-chain data side that maybe is making you more calm, or are you getting worried with what you're seeing?
No, I'm fairly bullish, and what I'm seeing here is this, and I'm going to give you the bullish sort of data that I'm seeing, or potentially bullish data that I'm seeing, but there are caveats. There are some bearish concerns to look for. Now, when we look at this, and I highlighted this the other day, this is the everything indicator. This incorporates a number of different on-chain metrics, and you tend to see this very overheated when you get up into a topping price action, which is the black line here. You see these way up in the red. Again, this tapped right into the red just before we went into the topping structure. This has only been consolidating here in the middle of this band, much like we did here in the early 2019 rally, also early 2017 rally, right in the middle of this band. So what's interesting about this is you have this descending resistance, rising level of support, kind of constricting into what looks kind of like a powder keg that is either going to push up, and we're going to break out of this and get, this would be if the 4-year cycle is over, then we get this move up. But if this comes up and rejects and we do dip down, then remember, it's not the end of the world. It just means you may have to be a little bit more patient, and you watch for this to drop down into the zone. Now, the bearish take here, and there is a bearish take, looking at this chart right here, every time MACD has crossed bearish on the monthly chart, Bitcoin has seen an average price drop of around minus 70%. And we're at that caveat kind of right now. So the question is, are you following data that is potentially bullish and you're going all in on leverage that you could get wrecked on? Or are you also hedging yourself? Because the concern here, we just saw October 10th, the massive washout. The market is in a much healthier place. What we're seeing is this massive reduction in open interest, meaning all these leveraged plays in the market. So I think it's anybody's guess as to what's happening right now. I think the outlook of the legal landscape, as well as the integrated landscape of corporate ETFs, sovereign bodies coming in, I still very much think we're going to have new highs in 2026. And this is part of the reason why we've got a massive flush in the system. Now, the last thing I wanted to share here is it's not just on-chain data. It's also how the global liquidity and how the basically business cycle has run and how that's correlated with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Blue line, high, top of Bitcoin price. Blue line, high, top of Bitcoin price. Look at this. We're on the basically where this would have been in the previous cycle. Look how early that is. We still, if we do get this swing up, especially when you consider the deployment and the development and the integration of AI and making things more functional in the tech and business sector, as well as blue collar work, as all these things develop, I do think profitability in the business development is going to have some sort of swing up, especially with all this development that's happening from different foreign investments coming into the U.S. It's like $10+ trillion. If this is to ring true again, now this is a couple things in favor of the bulls, then you can expect this to continue to stair step its way up through 2026. So that's kind of what I'm seeing in Bitcoin. And then just last thing was this on-chain chart I shared only a few days ago, I guess 4 or 5 days ago now. I was watching this signal, meaning people were not paying attention. Transactions were dropping dramatically. When this happens in a bull trend, Each time you look at these green bars, massive move. Massive move. This was from about 20,000 up to 74,000. Again, 48,000 up to 109,000. And we're kind of in that territory again, while the fear and greed is also peaking, where people are so worried about what's going on. And we got the Fed interest rate cuts almost guaranteed coming next week.
Yeah. Thanks for the super chat again, Mick. Slowly, Cache Monkey. What is Cache Monkey? I wonder if that's it's gonna be, I am honestly, I'm a little part of me is exhausted from this grind up and a grind down. If we do have a traditional 4-year cycle major washout, that's exciting for me because I learned alongside Frankie Candles, and Frankie absolutely thrives in bear markets, right? And he taught me how to do it. I'm just not in the season where I'm ready to flip the chart upside down, but there is going to be a time over the course of this next few, maybe 6 months where I'm going to be looking that way. If it's a 50% move, 30% move, that's to be discovered. But I think altcoins will have their day of reckoning regardless of where Bitcoin goes. But altcoins are entering a very exciting stage right now because we are entering towards the end of quantitative tightening, right? The last time this happened, the others altcoins had bottomed against Bitcoin and began a historic 750% rally. So we've showed this chart before, the others, the massive liquidity washout. And then we are at this time frame where the Fed's getting ready to cut. People are capitulating their bags. And the last time we were ready to see true end of quantitative tightening, absolute send it mode. So it's a really kind of crazy time to be alive. Cockney. No, I don't understand Cockney. But I'm holding my chain link. I'm holding my Morpho. I'm holding my Aerodrome with conviction. Obviously, I'm not even worried about the Bitcoin. I'm not selling Bitcoin. The Bitcoin that I have, I'm just going to continually add to it, right? Making small purchases consistently and then trading actively to get big chunks of Bitcoin added to my bag. So in this time frame, I don't think the cycle's over. The business cycle you mentioned, Kelly, has a lot to do with it. I think the business cycle.
Not only that, we're getting these things, on a daily basis. JP Morgan, when JP Morgan moves, you should take notice. They are now signaling the U.S. fiscal situation has reached the point of no return, and they'll soon need better collateral. They're getting into digital capital, and it's not, it's almost like first they fight you, in that whole narrative that we've talked about. But remember, Bitcoin faced the world and every financial structure and business organization and country against it all the way up until about 2020 when El Salvador started getting involved. That was the small little smidgen of, a little inkling of what was to come. But then when Larry Fink put in the application for the ETF, that's what really started codifying the start of the change of the global financial elite looking the way they looked at Bitcoin. Then we got all 11 ETFs approved. The next day they go live. Drew, how often do ETFs get approved and the next day they go live?
It's not very often that happens. Usually they're taking a lot of time. Do we have approval dates pinned down for these altcoins, Kelly? Like
this is one of those other bullish things. It feels like it sucks right now. But for those paying attention, much like we had Chris Klein on the other day, he sees, because they have clientele with over $14 billion on their platform over a Bitcoin IRA. So they can look granularly at the data. And when they're seeing shifting interest in how people are allocating funds and moving funds between different assets, and there's been a focus if capital is starting to go into some of these altcoins that do have ETFs that are kind of past due at this point for ETFs. But we have the government shutdown right now. And so once this ends, I think that there's going to be a pretty big boom very quickly. And I'm not talking about specifically in price action, but they're backlogging a lot of these things that some of those dates have already passed due, but we're going to get 8 or 10 XRP ETFs that get approved on the same day. We're going to get 5 or 6 or 7 Solana ETFs approved on the same day. We're going to get, and it's going to be bundles that are approved. This is going to open that capital access for all these corporate players. They're not, for the most part, they're not out there doing super due diligence on 700 different altcoins, picking which one they want to invest in. They're going to be looking to some of these bundles, these indexes, to not only give to their clientele, but also for their own treasury plays or investment plays. So I think this whole timeline has shifted because the entire structure surrounding Bitcoin and crypto that was against it is now literally throwing the doors open. But now they're saying, hold on, we don't have the tables ready yet. And as soon as they say those tables are ready, people are going to be flooding in these open doors and asking for margaritas and, basically getting capital in these markets.
Well, those ETFs, like that is definitely some gas in the tank for XRP. That is gas in the tank for basically every crypto product that is included in the ETFs. But I also saw the Ripple Prime release, Kelly, and kind of curious your take on the Ripple Prime acquisition of Hidden Road. So they officially launched this after completing the acquisition. Ripple became the first crypto company to own and operate a multi-asset prime broker. And they're talking about institutional adoption, things like this, but what the hell does this even mean for the XRP price if it's Ripple, right? That's where things get so muddy. Can you kind of run through what your initial take is on seeing this news release today?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was bringing up earlier. And DeFi crypto airdrops hit it pretty spot on. And if you notice, I dimmed my light a little bit because I wanted to match you in this cozy afternoon.
Oh, it's the tan, right? You look way more tan this way.
Ripple is the business, the company, and then XRP is the crypto blockchain that is also in many ways very tied in and conjoined with the Ripple business, but they are two different structures. Now, Ripple having a basically multi-asset prime brokerage allows them to basically work with a lot of the banking nomenclature, the banking apparatus that they were trying to really integrate with their messaging system, with their basically being able to deliver and broker different assets, not just Bitcoin and crypto and XRP, but multi-asset. So I think this is going to be good. Again, back to the other thing for the stock of Ripple. I think there's going to be a lot of people looking at this like it's a direct impact on the XRP price. And while I don't know,
You want it to be like you want it to be. It's just how much of the transaction fee in XRP is actually used in these, right? And now they have the RLUSD, they have the stable coin. It's gotten very, very muddy in terms of what the actual pressure to the XRP token in and of itself is actually going to be. There's a lot of stuff that I also want to cover here. Where is it? Veteran Crypto dealing with some stuff. I took down. Veteran, let me know in the chat if that Avantis deal got worked out. I know you had like a trade open. Things are getting pretty weird. Now, this is an interesting thought process. And this is kind of, what to do after the bear market takes hold type thought process here. So this guy bought $250,000 worth of toilet paper, roughly 200,000 premium 3-ply rolls.
Tabs.
Oh, whoops. Good call.
Well, it's kind of the same thing. You're talking about Ripple, right?
Oh my God. I didn't mean to do that. Hold on. Gee, that was sick. I didn't mean to do that. So this guy, BB888, Pepe, bought $250,000 worth of toilet paper, 200,000 premium 3-ply rolls, warehouse of softness stacked from floor to ceiling in an asset consumer market literally can't print fast enough when the panic hits. Most people would call it insanity, but he has a thesis here. Okay. This is very interesting. So each roll cost $1.25 today, but over the past 30 years, the price of high-end tissue has risen faster than CPI, the dollar, and even gasoline. Over 400% increase since 1995. Meanwhile, governments keep inflating money supply chains and deflating standards. It's only a matter of time before they cost-optimized future.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me this guy is building a tissue treasury?
He is. He's got a toilet paper tissue treasury. And you know what? The thought is kind of crazy, but is it really? Because think about it. Shrinkflation, the way that corporate America is basically giving you less and less and less for more and more money. I mean, maybe there is something to this. Buying an asset, a hard good now, as long as it can last 10, 20 years, might not be. I mean, people could very well have to use seashells like Demolition Man in 10 years from now. right? There could be a yearning for the feeling the soft caressing touch of a 3-ply toilet paper against your buttocks after you take a poop 10 years from now that you just cannot find,
You
right? So
know,
maybe.
guys, let me just talk to the audience real quick. Guys, sometimes we come on here and we're talking Bitcoin, we're talking what's going on with the altcoin market, money flow, technical indicators, and I hop in these afternoon streams. Drew and I do it together, and sometimes I just have to, just like your price action, you have to be patient. Sometimes with Drew, we just go in so far into left field that we're talking about the investment value of treasury as it compared to seashells and why it's also good. But stick with us here. We're going to get back on track, I'm sure. Bring us back on track, Drew.
All right. So the idea, scarcity, right? Market demand, a scarce product, just like Bitcoin, right? And this is why I like the transfer of value in Bitcoin makes so much more sense over the dollar, right? Like I don't even feel like selling into the dollar at this point because they are only going to double our money supply again and again and again. And so seeing hard-sided goods, Bitcoin, disruptive technologies within these crypto projects, maybe might be I've been saying it for years, but this really paints a picture that toilet paper might be coming back. Toilet paper might be coming back. If you remember, during flu season, people were getting fired for taking rolls of toilet paper from their offices. It was a sought after product. People were getting beat down in the streets, beat down in Costco for the toilet paper. Oh my God, what is that? What happened there? Oh my God.
When you get low quality toilet paper, this is kind of like buying never mind. But you're right. I mean, this goes to, we talked about the other day how we're at record levels right now on Google for people searching monetary debasement. So when we also sometimes speak about high quality toilet paper, what we're really trying to incentivize everybody to realize is that one, Bitcoin's not the only asset. You can invest in toilet paper. I think that's what Drew is saying. No, it's the fact that you have to, because of monetary debasement and because of inflation, and it's never going to stop. It's a function of the way our monetary system works. If you do not find something to invest in that outpaces the rate of debasement, there's nothing that you do that can secure your future. You're going to end up becoming more and more subject to the whims of those that are controlling you. And I don't know about you, Drew. I don't know about everybody here in the audience. I'm not here to be controlled. I want to participate in my life. I want to participate in helping create the future for my friends and family and children and your friends and family and children, not be subject to, I've got to work 3 jobs because I saved in dollars. Maybe you have $1 million. Do you realize that $1 million saved in 1970, had you saved the value of $1 million, it would have been like $200,000, right? Now, now think about that now. Everybody thinks they want to be a millionaire. No, you got to be a decamillionaire to even be close to what that was like in the past. So we've got to look to investments that can outpace the rate of debasement, which is only increasing from here.
Kelly, it looks like the market's catching a bid too as well. I think it's worth looking at Ethereum first and foremost because these altcoins need a little bit of love. And, the timeline is so bearish. People are wanting to fight in the chat, which is insane. You guys want to fight about crypto. This is the people. I want to show you this. So these are the people that are complaining about the market going into a bear market. They're out here playing with $10 on Solana. Oh my God, a little up and down. I'm so scared. I need to run away from the market. The volatility is there. You need to be able to hold through insane volatility to experience massive upside, right? So there is that. I do want to see what are you seeing on the Ethereum charts, because they're talking about a good pump. I'm looking at Morpho and it's kind of making me a little erect. What do we got here?
Well, I mean, on the 1 hour chart, is it a pump, guys? Let's get to the 1 minute. So we got a pump on the 1 minute, guys. But if you get this is also very small. The 1 hour chart, we're fighting at the same level that we've had a lot of resistance at. We're just now catching a little bit of a bid outside of that. The RSI did have a nice bounce here down in the low 40s, but we're back above 50. Money flow is not yet fully agreeing with this. Let's get a little bit smaller. Yeah, look at this little blip here. I'm not convinced on this move yet until we get money flow starting to come in, but the RSI is angled out very sharply. If you come over here to Bitcoin also come on, I believe in you. There we go. So it looks exactly the same. Our RSI is breaking back above this 50 line right here, meaning the strength is starting to get back in control if this does not reject. But the money flow is agreeing with this. Money flow, nice move up here. But look at where the price is currently. It's right at the previous range lows. So while this feels good, great, you either want to blast beyond this, which is this low right here. You want to blast beyond this and use it as support, or you want a rejection here to find some support somewhere here and see where the bulls come in to get that bid. Because a lot of times this can be a trap before really testing people before making the move.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And, there's so much I could rant on and on and on and on and on about. I see everyone confused why we're just highlighting TVL data and all these things about the fourth biggest crypto out there, which is indeed XRP. I even gave bullish cases at the end of that. But, what we have seen over the past few months and really year is a lot of lackluster price action and a lot of bullish headlines, and the Federal Reserve Board of Governors talking about altcoins, and we are still ranging at these levels. That's why it's so maddening. I don't know if you've noticed, but the X algorithm, it's been a little bit out of whack.
They're adjusting it right now. Elon even posted about it today.
Yeah, he's talking about it. He apologizes for frustrations with the X algorithm. We're working hard to fix the problem. You know what? I'm here for it. I actually kind of like the new algorithm. So maybe it's okay for me and not okay for others. It's up to everyone and what you engage with. And since I engage so much with correcting in false statements on X, my timeline is all Ripple this morning. So, it is what it is. I hope, if he does fix this, then I won't see all of the lies flowing. And that might be a problem because I like to correct people when we're looking at that. But the market, it's hard to trust this pump, Kelly. It is really hard to trust this pump.
Well, hold on a second, because this is what we need to remember, everybody. Remember, zoom out, because this feels like a pump. Look at this on the 4-hour, guys. There's nothing there. Okay, look, hold on. Hey, everybody, Kelly, the alts are pumping. Okay, go to the 4-hour. It's so tight in a range. Now, a move may manifest out of this. RSI is finding support on the 50. Money flows slightly up. If we go to Bitcoin, okay, on the 4-hour, look at this. I mean, let's go back to the 1 minute. God, finally, I get some excitement in my life. This is a TikTok time frame. Look at the 4-hour minimum when you zoom out. Like, go to the 1 hour, 1 minute to give yourself a jolt of just elastic endorphins in your body. But go to the 4-hour and realize we're just trading sideways, still within this 100-day range, and we're still yet barely testing the bottom side of all of these ranges right in here. So we got some work to do, but those data points that we highlighted earlier in the show, it does. I mean, I've said this the last 3 weeks, looking into this, the last 2 weeks of October into the first 2 weeks of November, I think we're going to start to get a bit more clarity about what the intention of direction is for the rest of the year.
Well, there's a chart that's going to all-time highs right now, Kelly, and you're going to be shocked. Partisan anger between Republicans and Democrats. So the U.S. government shutdown going on right now is the second longest in history. We finally did it. We're about to hit new all-time highs for the government being shut down.
We're the best.
I want to know in chat, do you think that this is going to end up being the longest government shutdown in U.S. history? Yes or no in the chat. I want to know what you guys think. I think it's kind of crazy that there is so much work to be done as a country, not just from a cultural standpoint, but monetarily. We're hitting extreme highs, $38 trillion in debt, interest on debts hitting $1 trillion. And they choose to argue about some $300 million East Wing to the White House. $300 million for a portion of the White House actually makes a whole hell of a lot of sense.
That's being privately funded.
And privately funded as well.
Well, here's
So
the other thing, and I can't. These just end up getting political because everything's wrapped in this right
I'm
now.
sorry, I had to
But
do it.
no. I mean, I'm right there with you because on the one hand, we see this government shutdown, and NBC, which I was surprised NBC did this. Hey, held Hakeem Jeffries a little bit. They held the fire to his feet a little bit because the Democratic Party is holding the government shutdown kind of hostage so that the Republicans will kind of address this stopgap in the healthcare funding that is elapsing. And it's not elapsing today, it's elapsing in December. But the interesting thing about the shutdown that's happening right now, while the Republicans have the House, the Senate, and the executive branch, why wasn't this addressed when the Democratic Party had full control of all three sectors of government?
Right.
This could have already been addressed. So why is it all of a sudden, it's such a cockamamie bullshit nonsense is happening right now. And you look at every one of these Democrats that's barking on TV. You go back last year or the year before when Biden was in power, the words that they said about using a government shutdown to hold the entire government hostage for a policy debate is something that should never happen. And here they are doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And crypto and politics are kind of going hand in hand.
I'm not Republican. I'm not Democrat. I'm a smart guy that looks at both sides, and there's nonsense everywhere, but there is just too much nonsense that went so far left. The pendulum's got to swing, baby, and I'm here.
That is true. When I met you first, you were like totally middle of the road, and we weren't in this like really fever pitch of partisanship in America to where we are now. But
hold on. JRM says, any crypto news, or is this just politics talk? He must have just jumped in here in the last 37 seconds because we've been on for 45 minutes and about 42 minutes of those has been crypto news. So I appreciate the irrelevant comment there, Mr. JRM. There's also a scroll back function that you can catch up on.
Oh my God. Well, crypto and politics are intertwined. Like, look at this. So smart guy. That was okay. You know what? Nice. All right. So Patrick Witt is an executive director with the President's Council and Advisors for Digital Assets. First of all, it's incredible that we have something like this here in America. This is the first pro-crypto president we've ever had. He is part of the White House, and he's actually going to attend SmartCon this year, an event put on by Chainlink, but it's sponsored by Amazon Web Services. And, there's a lot of reasons, not just bag pumpy up and to the right, why the US and really the world at large is looking to upgrade the infrastructure of their internet. I do have the story tagged here, and I will pull it up really, really quickly because the Alaskan Airlines had to ground Alaskan Airlines went down yesterday. I don't know if they're back up again, but seeing the system that airlines, Wall Street's like JavaScript that was written in like the 70s or something like that. There is so many things that crypto can advance and harden the infrastructure of, and that's what's exciting to me about crypto is that you see these problems, you see the arguing back and forth about, oh no, you spent this much and blah, 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 spent this much. Guess what crypto does? It makes it transparent, right? It gives us, as the people being represented by these pricks, visibility on what they've actually done to see what they're actually lying about. Because a fun fact, like Trump takes credit for starting the wall. He didn't start the wall. Obama started the wall. Obama just didn't finish the wall. Trump came in, it's my wall. It's the best wall, maybe the greatest. But literally Obama started the wall. And if we had the blockchain and transparency of government expenditure, that wouldn't even be a argument point. Everyone would just know, oh yeah, no, this has started.
The flip side of that too is the politics as it relates to crypto is this, because I don't particularly like it when we get super political on this channel because I don't want to alienate people. On the flip side of that, we're also in the middle of changing the entire global financial structure, the way assets are transacted, the way business commerce is done, how culture integrates and communicates through monetary transactions, as well as cultural representations with things like NFTs. There's so many different things going on right now. And leading up until January 20th, whether you like Trump or not, you have to realize the entire crypto ecosystem globally, there's a big choke point that was happening in the US because there was overwhelming misinformation campaign going on about Bitcoin being bad for the environment because of mining, all this fucking nonsense. Because you look at energy prices. You look at energy prices in areas that Bitcoin miners are integrated into the energy grid. It actually drives energy prices down because you can then utilize every bit of energy. You can scale up how much energy you need to produce. You use every bit of energy that's turning a profit. And if a big storm comes through, like it did in Texas a few years back, you can turn off some miners. Now you have all this extra energy capacity. So you're kind of hitting two nails with one stone. It's an incredible feat. That's what's happening. It's just misinformation about what's going on. In addition to that, because of these regulations that are being debated by a president, by a legislator, by a Senate, by a Congress, by state representatives, this is limiting people's ability to transact and have custody of their own currency, which is something that is a very high touch point now with technology as it advances, because people are wondering, are we moving into this absolute technocratic machine that we have no access to anything unless, say I'm allowed to because they like how I acted when I crossed the street? This is a very, very important time. So politics are entwined with this because it speaks to the freedom of people or the suppression of people's freedoms.
100%. I absolutely. First of all, that was excellent. We got to give you a round of applause. Fantastic. That was very, very good, Kelly. And now, with that being said, there's a couple things on my mind
hold on. Important comment here.
Oh my God.
We gotta soften it up a little bit. Okay.
You are banned.
Hey, just so everybody knows, you know what Drew and I said specifically about 45 seconds before we started this stream? Drew, what did we say we were going to do in this stream?
We're going to keep it lighthearted.
We said, hey, let's just have fun. Let's just do a lighthearted stream. We'll share some charts. And this is like, nah.
Listen, okay. No, I won't make it worse. But yeah, there's things culturally that crypto can fix. And that is why it's exciting to me. Where the heck did that comment go? I have so many different chats. And shout out, we got 3,100 people watching right now. You guys really drive me to work. You take the wheel along with Jesus every single day to drive me to this job, because I feel like I'm reaching people, and we have been able to navigate one of the more complex bull markets, if not the most complex bull market in crypto history, together pretty effectively. And I really appreciate that. But only 38 likes. I'm going to end the show right now. I swear to God, I'm going to ban every single one of you. Like the button, the little clicky button. You're the GOAT, Kelly from Jumpman. Thank you very much for the $2 super chat. This is an interesting question. Jesus, take the wheel, baby. That's right. Kelly,
Hey,
a lot of people are looking at Cardano, right? And me personally, I'm pretty disenchanted with it.
I would say this, whether it's Cardano, whether it's Ondo, whether it's Injective, whether it's Avalanche, even Avalanche had it run up to $36 and just fell right the hell off the cliff. I think this speaks to the disenfranchisement sentiment the market is feeling more broadly. I think the majority, not every, but I think the majority of these altcoins, if the market catches this bid like we're hoping it's going to, I think they're all going to perform well. And remember, Cardano still has a lot on the timeline looking forward in terms of the Bitcoin OS discussions, the integration with some of the Bitcoin DeFi. It's going to be interesting to see how that sort of rolls out, especially with the midnight drop and all that's going on there. I wouldn't count Cardano out. Look at Cardano last cycle or the cycle before that, where it did nothing. And then it actually ran after a lot of things, but caught up dramatically and outpaced a lot of stuff.
That's true.
So it's got a strong community as well.
It does have a very strong community. And I want to know from you, like, who has the strongest crypto community? I kind of voted for XRP to be the strongest crypto community this morning. I kind of stand by that because they feverishly defend their bags, and that is commendable. But you know what? Cardano people are out there fighting for their bags. I see a lot of Hexicans out there at the border trying to knock the wall down. You know, they're very, very strong in their convictions. But let me know in the chat who you think is the crypto cult that would win in a war, in a world war crypto. Which crypto cult, which crypto army would win? Let me know down in the chat. It's just a question I have in my mind because I deal with all kinds of kind of groups of people. I know Kelly's mentioned dog on Bitcoin. They are absolutely fever pitch as well.
Well, their blue list or whatever it's called, their expedited listing process for like blue chip projects. Their team reached out or coordinating with Leonidas, who's the main person behind Dog, about getting Dog potentially listed on Coinbase. So
really,
that could be quite cool. Yeah, and it's been in one of the trending. It's been in several of the trending news brackets on X today as well.
No, Bennett, Marines don't play either. That's right. Pudgy Penguins, Crazy, Soul Army, XRP, Bitcoin Max. You know what? Bitcoin Maxis ain't nothing to F with. All right. BTC, Link Marines. I love seeing it. Where's the Hexicans for sure? It's obvious. Yeah, Hexicans are wild on X. It just, it comes to my mind because there does come to a degree of value in people that will diamond hand their project, their holdings as long as humanly possible. And that is, worth noting when it comes to bear markets where the floor is likely to develop on any given altcoin. One altcoin that, really almost feels like a throwback, which is sad to say, is Fetch AI. And I remember they had all this FUD going on, some lawsuit or legal dispute with Ocean Protocol.
Well, they had the merger with ASI, remember?
Right. So Ocean is going to return $120 million in FET tokens to Fetch AI to settle their legal dispute. It's kind of a throwback. I don't know if anyone in the chat is holding this token. It almost feels like a token from yesteryear. I was all about Fetch a while back. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were in it made this merger, this mega AI crypto merger, ASI, artificial super intelligence. And the price is just garbage, right? It just makes me wonder, has the narrative basically moved on? Do people realize that, because I use AI systems that require crypto tokens to use, and I look at them as a tool and I use them as a tool and they work for me as a tool. But some of the overhyped, projects that are already at 100 million, 200 million, that then went down, it's like, if they don't have a true tool that people are actively engaged, it has to be niche. It doesn't really have any pressure. It's kind of my same concept, not just in AI, but with Arkham Intelligence. Arkham Intelligence has a token, but guess what? I can mosey on into Arkham Intelligence right now and not own any Arkham token to use the services. So that comes to my mind. Maybe they're trying to do the chain link play where you get the whole market addicted to you first, and then you start charging for the tokens. But, it's just something to think about. It's just something to think about. If you can get in the front door without an entry fee, where's going to be the pressure? Where's going to be the revenue coming up? And it's insane seeing people complain to me about me talking about revenue metrics and those mattering, because, it's not just
think about how much corporate money is looking at the crypto ecosystem right now. They're not looking at like, what's the tokenomics as it relates to the 4-year cycle. And no, they're looking at what's the revenue, what's the projection revenue growth, how's that tie into adoption? And then for those two things to also have value, you have to look at what is the utility and what area is it disrupting and displacing that could also drive adoption and fees and all that structure. Because that's how it's going to be very relatable to how they look at mergers and acquisitions and different profit and loss statements and all the things that you'd look to if you're looking at taking over a company like you would, on the traditional stock market.
Yeah. Tao took the AI play. I completely agree. With my pops there. Tao took the AI play. Who the hell? Oh, who's Andrew Wilson? Let's see here. I want to get the backstory on Andrew Wilson. A lot of people are saying he's a POS, blah, blah, blah. A bunch of Democrats all mad at him, which it's like, man, do I like this guy already? The Crucible. I'm going to look at this guy. Christian husband, host of Crucible. I'll check him out. Good looking out. You know what I mean? I always like finding good faith-based leaders of families that are out there spreading the good message. Now, there's a couple things we got, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of doubt. Kelly, if there's one as we head into the weekend, let's look at the general money flow of Bitcoin, because the Chinese, they're going to do some crazy stuff. The old bags of Bitcoin, that's the weekend is where the mice will play. What are you seeing on Bitcoin's money flow? Price be damned. What do you see on money flow heading into this weekend?
Well, let's take a little gander.
Ooh.
Got it? There we go. Oops. There we go. Looking at the money flow. This is the 8 hour. All righty. Well, let's go back in time last weekend. Tuesday, Saturday. So here we go. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We had a pretty bearish weekend at the end of August. If we look at the last weekend, that would have been right here. We were coming out of this negative money flow, but we've kind of been on this upkick currently that is kind of tapering off a little bit, but it's kind of, I would expect this to have some, I don't think this is going to come straight back down like this. Much like you're seeing this general swing like this, right? I think we're going to stay positive on the money flow. What I'd be watching for is a breakout of this zone, watching for a move into about this 114, 115 zone.
Yeah.
We're able to break out of this. If this does reject again, it's still okay. Guys, it's okay if it doesn't do exactly what you want when you want it to. If it rejects out of this, then what you look for, if you're bullish, is, let's say it rejects here. You want to, in this case, you'd like to see this still maintain a higher low. This gets a little more concerning if this breaks down and we're testing back into these ranges down in 106 to 107. Then we start going, okay, we're going to be looking more at the bearish narrative unless it's a washout. But I'm going to be hands off this weekend in the charts, especially because there's excitement mixed with fear, which means there's likely going to be some volatility in the market. And we have the rate cut that's coming on Wednesday next week and coming into the end of the month as well. So I think all eyes are going to be on how the price action is this weekend and how Monday and Tuesday responds to that. But I do think that CPI today gave, further data, further reasoning. I think it's at 97% right now for a 25 basis point cut. The question is going to be, what sort of discourse does Jerome Powell have? Is he going to read from the same damn monologue that he has for the last year and a half?
AI. He is AI. Jerome Powell is fake news. +1 in chat if you think I'm wrong. I think they've cremated him and they've turned him into an AI robot monster. I don't think Jerome Powell's real anymore. Let me know if you think I'm crazy. Powell with the pit vipers, man. Powell with the pit vipers. But these altcoins, I'm looking at them across the board. Like, yeah, VZ Fat Cat's mentioned, and even XRP is catching a bid right now. Today, XRP is up by 4%. So, even the craziest of altcoins pump when these tides rise, and XRP is not even one of the craziest. It's up here, number 5. Let's see actually who's the big gainer out of this bid. Humanity Protocol, get wrecked. This is a scam. MYX, probably another scam. There's insiders that are going to pump it though. Look at this chaos. Let's see here. Virtuals, okay. Virtuals coming back from the dead, 17%. Let's check this out. Virtuals up 17%. That's, you know what? If this thing turns it back around, I mean, it's set up a higher low. It's set up a higher low here. Credit where credit is due. On this, and look at what it did in December. I mean, this is the AI agent bidding season. And you know what? This reminds me of Mamo. I want to go look at Mamo. Mamo. It's an AI agent for DeFi on Coinbase. Extremely low level, actually trying to bottom out. Nice. Okay. I'm going to use some of my trading funds, some of my tether for some more Mamo because I got the airdrop. But actually, this looks like it's kind of trying to flat line out, catch a bid right here. This is original pump 2 moment for Mamo. And it's been a ride downtown with the rest of the altcoin market. But seeing it just from a very basic structure, looks like it's trying to round out and start that uptrend here. So things aren't all so bad.
Well, on that note, looking at the others chart, the total too, at this going into the weekend, we have the RSI. Look at this. It's fighting to get into the strength category, basically above this 50 line. So It feels like this is compressing into the zone. Money flow is maintaining a positive stance right here. It did try to come down, but we're getting a little bit of a bid on capital coming into the altcoins right now. If this is able to break up, then I do expect this also to be breaking up to start testing up, which would mean broadly, obviously, the altcoin market would rise. So the question is, as we wrap this out, everybody, Bitcoin, okay, is Bitcoin going to open? Is Bitcoin going to open higher on Sunday? That's a 1 for a yes, 2 for a no. And altcoins, are altcoins going to pump this weekend, or are they going to dump this weekend? That is a 3 for yes or a 4 for no for altcoins. Let's see what you guys got to say in there in those comments. Drop it down below as well. But make sure you get out of the charts as well. We got some stuff coming out this weekend. DZ's back in the hood as well. But remember, get out there, spend time with friends, with family, play an instrument, make some food, go walk around, get some sunshine on your shoulders, and come back here fresh with the content we have coming this weekend. And of course, we'll be seeing you on Monday.
Absolutely. Love and appreciate every single one of you. And don't forget this, that
You are banned!